Welcome back, friends. My name is Ross, and I help people rewrite their stories. And today I want to talk a little about racism. And I know that might seem not so genuine coming from a mostly white guy, but it's something that we as a society need to become more aware of, the everyday racism that is present in our society. I haven't been reading, it's being read to me. So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo, read to me by Bonnie Turpin. There's a lot of really uncomfortable things in there, and one of the things is you can't be born as a white person into a white supremacist society without benefiting from those intrinsic structures of white supremacy. And I'm not trying to be edgy or controversial saying that America is a white supremacist society. It was founded on the principles of whites being at a higher level than everyone else. That's not conjecture, that's just how America was formed. And it sucks, and thank whatever entity of your choosing that we're finally coming around to seeing that no, that's not okay. But that's how the country was founded. And Oluo points out that you can't be born white into a white supremacist society without being a little bit white supremacist. You can't be male born into a patriarchy without being a little bit sexist. You can't be able-bodied and not be a little ableist. She makes a ton of other great points, and I'm eager to re-listen to the book, but those points have been really sticking with me the last couple weeks because there have been times when I've gone into a public bathroom and, without even thinking, used the handicap stall, and that's being ableist. There have been times when I've been driving and someone has been driving less than I would like them to, and I pull up alongside them and I see their race or gender, and in my mind I make an assumption that's not good. I don't have to say that. It was uncomfortable to see these ugly aspects of myself pointed out by someone who I've never met. But like I'm always saying, and it seems like this is something that can be applied to everything in life, once you become aware of these behaviors, you can actively change them. Awareness is the key to everything. When you're aware of your privilege, you can work to use it to the advantage of everyone else. Now, like I said, this might come across as me just trying to show how woke I am, but once you realize that you have been born into a society that favors you just because of your skin color and disenfranchises and just shits on different people, you can't sit still and let that be. Like I'm always saying, awareness only ever expands, and trying to restrict that awareness becomes uncomfortable. So I guess I'm just saying to be aware of your privilege, and I am sorry that my privilege has kept me ignorant for so long, but that's not going to happen anymore. Case in point, I was at a rally for the situation happening in Belarus. If you're unfamiliar with that, I'll link to information down below. Basically, it's been a dictatorship there for the last 26 years, and the current president is trying to silence oppressors in violent ways. And I just heard about it yesterday, and it seems like it's an eerie forecast of what could potentially happen here come November. So I wanted to go and show my support of fellow humans suffering. And I was talking with one of the other protesters there, and they asked me a strange question. Is this the most interesting rally you've been to? And I'm like, well, this is the only one I've been to other than a bunch of Black Lives Matter protests. And he says, oh, okay, what would happen if I showed up there and said all lives matter? And this, I hate that phrase, because if you've watched these videos, you know that I believe that we're all special individual beings of light and love, but that fact, the fact that we are unique individuals, does not make us superior to one another. Of course, all lives matter, but saying that completely neglects and negates the struggles, the oppression, the bullshit that black people have had to deal with in America alone for the last 400 years. And so I said something kind of not as impassioned about that, because this was the first real conversation I had with someone I didn't know about race, and I wanted to, now this is the writer in me, I wanted to get everything right. But Oluo points out in the book, when you have these conversations, they're going to be uncomfortable, and you're not going to get everything right the first time, or the second time, or the 22nd time. But the fact that I was engaged with this guy about this was a step in the right direction. As we're talking, he mentions something about what if there were some Hispanics there, and they said Hispanic lives matter. And Hispanic, I just learned again recently, is not a proper term to speak of the Latinx community, because it has its roots in a colonialist ideal. So he used the word, and then I was talking about, well, there's actually a Latinx woman who speaks at these protests and talks about that. He was talking again, and he used the term Latino. And I was just reflecting on that before I started this video, and I was like, okay, so there was a little shift. There was a little change there. And that change reminded me of something I was reading in The Power of Emotions by Abraham Hicks. Esther Hicks channeling Abraham Hicks. I've talked about that in previous videos before. And what they say is, do not allow the behavior of another, no matter how ill-intentioned from your limited point of view, to upset the joy within you. You can waste your life trying to classify behaviors into varying categories of right and wrong, or kind of right and not so wrong, and on and on and on. And you can do the same thing with yourself, with your own actions. But the difference in classifying your actions and classifying the actions of others is that you can know where you are in relation to that inner source, the God inside, that inner peace. But you can never know what another person's relationship with that inner peace is. When you try to decide what a person should be doing, or try to control how they should act, you're off your path. And when you're off your path, that's when you get that internal discomfort. You can't decide what someone should do. You can't decide what actions someone should take. And you're not here. You're not here on this lovely planet to control other people. That's not what you're here for. And once you realize that, when you realize that you're not here to control people, there's this inner release of that bad feeling. And you can let go of those bad feelings when you realize that you're not here to control other people. And it doesn't matter if they're aware of that or not. If they're aware that, if this other person isn't or is aware that they don't have to control other people, you know that you don't have to control other people. And that's where that inner peace comes from. You can go about your day knowing that you're just here to be. It's not your job to walk their path, but maybe seeing you walk your path free of this idea of controlling will change them. And just that little change in this conversation I was having with this guy, from using a colonialist phrase to Latino was enough. I did what I could. I spoke as I could to my own level of knowledge on the subject, and who knows what will come from that. But I'm happy to have had that conversation despite the discomfort. Growth happens in those moments of discomfort. That's why they're called growing pains. If you were comfortable all the time, you would never grow. And so I've learned to embrace discomfort, to become comfortable with the idea of discomfort. So my friends, that's all I've got today. I know this was kind of different from the normal videos I do, but this is something that has been on my mind recently and is something that is affecting us all on a worldwide scale. So I highly recommend So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. I'll put a link to the book down below. And don't be afraid to have those discomforting conversations. That's where you learn, that's where you grow. And this channel, everything I want to do with my life is to help people grow. So I hope there was something in here that you were able to learn from and grow from. I hope I didn't trigger anyone by talking about race. If I did, yell at me in the comments below. And I'm about to blow away. There's a storm coming. So I want to wish you a day filled with peace, happiness, and loving kindness. And remember, my friends, until next time, be kind, be well, and be yourself. We'll talk soon.